Today, we're going to talk about how to be magnetic, and thus, as a result of being magnetic, magnetize $1 million to you. Thus, I titled today's conversation mind map, How to Magnetize $1 million to You. Now, in the last video we released on this channel, I discussed how you already have $1 million. You are right now standing on your own acres of diamonds. Those diamonds can appear as relationships, assets, which include intangible assets such as your knowledge, expertise, digital assets such as the content that you create or content that you can create, or digital products or services, and also physical assets. It could be the real estate that you have. It could be physical items that you have. This is where you can start here, now, to generate an increasingly lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit in a fun, joyous, flow-based way. That's what we're going to explore today. Magnetizing prospects and leads, magnetizing clients, and magnetizing ongoing business from existing clients. Today's conversation was inspired by a few questions, one from a client and one that was left in the comments on the last video. If you're interested in me answering your questions, you can leave a question in the comments, and then I will include it in one of our upcoming discussions. So the question is, I have a production company and sometimes I feel burned out reaching out to so many prospects. I usually do 20 a day, but mentors have told me to do 50 to 100. You mentioned 5. I appreciate all the different recommendations, but if you can explore about reaching out to prospects and the mindset to take with you, I feel like any young entrepreneur who is early in their journey could find it very valuable. Well, that is true. So as always, I teach the fun, joyous, flow-based way. And part of the fun, joyous, flow-based way is being magnetic and thus attracting to you the prospects, the leads, the clients, the ongoing business from your core being. Now, with respect to the part where it says 20 a day, you do 20 a day, and I mentioned 5 a day, and mentors have told you 50 to 100, consider this. One way is not better than another. For example, let's say you are offering a product or a service, or it's part of a deal that makes you $10,000 when you acquire a client, $10,000 net. Well, let's say you reach out to 25 prospects a week, which is 5 a day if you work Monday to Friday. 5 a day times 5 is 25. And let's say out of statistically the 25, you acquire one client. In a 4-week month, that would be $40,000. Now, that might be considered a wonderful, lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit for an entrepreneur, considering that that's net. So, in other words, they don't need to reach out to more than 5 a day based on that. However, if the price point is lower, if they convert one of those clients a week out of the 25, then they're making $1,000. If they would like to make 10, they would need to convert 10 into clients. So we could see, based on the offer, based on the price point of the offer more specifically, and the conversion, we adjust our prospecting accordingly. Now, that is an important consideration. It may be a lot more of an investment in time to reach out to 20 or 50 or 100, depending on how you go about doing it. If you're just firing off an email, that could take a few minutes to reach 50 or 100 people. If you're actively going over to their site, or you're reaching out to them via DM on Instagram or somewhere online and engaging in conversations with them, that could take longer. So the answer is, it depends. Generally speaking, if, let's say, you're converting at one client per week based on 25 prospects that you reach out. If you do 50, you would acquire 2 clients. Thus, that $40,000 a month would be $80,000 a month. So we see here that the answer is it depends. The answer is depends on what you're offering and your conversion and how you go about prospecting. What you can do is optimize your conversion by optimizing your messaging, which if you would like to explore what that looks like, you can leave a question and we can explore in an upcoming video. You can optimize based on the people that you're reaching out. And by that I mean specifically is being more specific as to the audience that you're reaching out, the segment that you're reaching out. So let's say you're acquiring IT clients. You could send a whole bunch of emails and reach out to businesses that require IT services. That may or may not result in client deals. But if we can get even more specific, then that could be helpful. Like, for example, I might say, one of the things that we do is we explore how we can integrate artificial intelligence or networking technologies in a way in a business that reduces expenses, increases profits, because we do it in a way that is different than other IT service providers. If you would like to explore if this is a match for you, we can jump on a Zoom session and explore together. That might give you more conversions than, let's say, a generic message of, we do IT services, we would like to come in and provide these services for you, would you like to talk, or something like that. So optimizing the message. Essentially, we're making it even more compelling for them to want to reply back. And to make it more compelling, we distinguish ourselves, we segment our list. So for example, if you're reaching out to those that would be interested in what I just mentioned, I would curate a list of prospects, or I would target specific venues or specific locations where there may be a genuine curiosity to explore integrating AI technologies, although they don't have someone that they can talk to about this. And your style is their style, and they like to have more of a exploratory conversation rather than a force-based one. I find that to be even more magnetic, and thus it converts more so. Because consider this. If people receive messages that sound like you want to get something from them, then it's reasonable that initial response would be kind of a moving away from, because magnetic is attractive, and not to being magnetic, we can say, is not attractive. So if we write our messages in a way that is attractive, as in what's in it for them, then the conversions go up. And one of the ways we could do this is being very curiosity-based, exploratory-based. As mentioned, I mentioned that and that was me creating a very rough draft of a message. If I was going to send something like this out, I would sit down and wordsmith it. Essentially what I'm saying is that we do things in a distinct way. We would like to have an exploratory conversation with you. It is not one that is going to require you to buy. We don't need you to buy. We are actually looking for a harmonious match. We can jump on a Zoom session, we can explore, and you can benefit greatly from the conversation. Maybe you don't have anyone to talk about how AI can be integrated into your business. We have extensive experience in this area. We can explore whatever it is that you would like to explore. You see, what that does is it opens up for them to say, well, this is interesting. I'm looking for someone to talk about AI technologies. And it is more likely to result on them replying back to your email or booking a link on your Calendly or something like that to explore. So then now you have a successful entry in your calendar for client acquisition conversation to explore accordingly. So those are some nuances there. So prospecting in a magnetic way is intentional. And it's discovering the potential clients who are already aligned, if we go about it in a magnetic way. See, a person may think that lead generation is magnetic and prospecting is not magnetic. What is lead generation? Lead generation is the art of naturally drawing in potential clients by offering something they genuinely find valuable, like videos, like reports, like putting out some valuable information in some shape or form where people can discover it and then build a relationship with you, get to know you, like you, trust you, and then reach out to you. That's what we call lead generation. See, a person may think that prospecting is not magnetic. Lead generation is magnetic, but prospecting is not magnetic. Actually, you can go about prospecting in a magnetic way, as we had mentioned earlier. That was an example. So prospecting in a magnetic way is done by, look, there's something that both of us can benefit from by having a conversation. We can both benefit. And if it happens to be a match, we can work together. So if we do a deal, great. If we don't do a deal, great. Both of us benefit greatly. They benefit greatly. You see the distinction between this? Both of us benefit greatly. You benefit greatly from having a conversation, from exploring, from connecting, versus I have something to sell you. I would like to sell you something. And although a person who's prospecting doesn't necessarily reach out and say those words, that's the kind of vibe that they put out in their communication. So prospecting and lead generation, both of them are what I recommend. I do both of them. So lead generation tends to be more of a focus now after creating my YouTube channel. Prior to that, when I had my IT business, I was doing prospecting. And then when the sales started to come in and the clients were acquired in a very easeful, natural way, prospecting was not done in a stress, force-based, strong-arming, trying to convince the person way, but rather a natural, authentic way. And I would even go to particular locations where there would be more likely the prospects that would take me up on my offer. So we could say an entrepreneur may go to places where individuals might not necessarily be into the product or service. And although, let's say, if you're very good at what you do in prospecting and you have some experience and you built your experience to a high degree, you can even go to those particular locations and convert prospects into clients. Yet, generally what we find is it's easier to go into environments where there's a higher likelihood that they would become a client. For example, I remember at one point I was offering web design and marketing packages. This was a while back. I went to a particular location where there were holistic health practitioners who graduated from their program. So they graduated from this program, and naturally, it's safe to assume that they want to start prospecting and lead generation for their business. In order to generate leads, they would have an opt-in page on their website, an email list, a lead magnet, and social media set up. Yet they don't have it. And they have no interest in doing it. Some might not. Most of them, we found, did not have an interest for doing it themselves. So when I went to this particular event and I shared what I did, what happened was I acquired clients easily. So much so that the facilitator that was running the event said that he put together this event so that they could refer business to each other, so they can acquire clients at this event. Yet it turns out that you, Joseph, acquired the most clients. Why? Because of the magnetic way of prospecting. Going to particular venues, online, offline, that have the highest likelihood of your prospects being there, and having conversations very naturally, exploratory, fun, joyous, flow-based. And all that does is bridge where they are to where they desire to be through the product or service. It's a natural bridge that they walk on, and they choose to work with you. So magnetic lead generation is the result of putting out content, information, or communicating in a way online, offline. It could be at events, offline, which I've done, could be online, through online discussions, forums, groups, mastermind, communicating in a way that bridges where they are and where they desire to be through what it is that you do and how you go about doing it in a way that feels very natural and relatable to them. And I don't recommend faking it. Why? Because let's just say if you pretend or fake and put on a persona to acquire the client, now you have a business deal with the client and you have an ongoing relationship with this client. And then the individual has to keep putting on this persona all throughout, and it doesn't feel natural. It feels stress and force-based. Your way is the best way. What I'm interested in is my style of going about doing things and meeting prospects that resonate with my style and generate leads from those that would like to work with me, my style. As you know, my style of entrepreneurship is the flow-based style. And magnetism and being magnetic is part of the flow-based style. So while there are many effective ways to convert prospects into clients, to generate leads, to generate prospects, to generate ongoing business from existing clients, the way I like to teach is the way where I don't have to put on a persona in order to get prospects, leads, and clients. I can be me. And that is what I teach, and that is what I encourage. Now, part of why I put together this video was also based on another question that I received from a client who stated, I started doing some outreach, so prospecting. I'm finding some people who could really do with my help, but they can't see it yet. Maybe they aren't ready to do the work, don't want to risk disappointing themselves, or have had a bad experience with coaches. What do you suggest for people like that? Okay, so we're out prospecting, we're generating leads, so you put out social media content consistently and you're dialing into your audience. And if you want to get into the nuances, as mentioned, you could leave a question below and I'll answer it in an upcoming video. You'll start generating more leads. That's what I did with my YouTube channel. As mentioned, with my IT business, more on the prospecting side. Now I value both. I don't consider one better than another. Consider a combination if you would like to maximize your client acquisition. Or if you find that you harmoniously prefer prospecting or you harmoniously prefer lead generation, one is not better than the other. I like to do what is natural, fun, and flow-based because that way it doesn't feel stress. And as I mentioned about putting on a persona to acquire clients, then you got to put on that persona and hold that persona, and that feels uncomfortable. The same as if I force myself to do prospecting when I feel like doing lead generation, or if I force myself to do lead generation if I feel like prospecting, I actually like both, then I got to keep forcing myself to do it, and that could lead to burnout. So prospecting, lead generation, and now client acquisition in a magnetic way. So client acquisition in a magnetic way is the art of turning aligned prospects, leads, into paying clients by having meaningful conversations centered around their desires and outcomes in a mutually beneficial way. So what could appear as, let's say, hang-ups from the prospect or objections from the prospect are actually opportunities to convert those prospects and leads into clients. Here are 7 things to keep into consideration. We can explore much more and get into nuances in an upcoming video, but I feel that this is helpful for both of those questions. Number 1, practice non-attachment. So the way I like to do things is if they want to do the deal, great. If they do not want to do the deal, great. I would only want them to do the deal if the deal is a harmonious match with them. Otherwise, as mentioned, I would put on a persona, and I don't want to do that. Number one. Number two, then it seems very stress and force-based for them, stress and force-based for me, or both of us. And that doesn't feel aligned. You can magnetize $1 million. You don't have to do it in a stress force-based way. So the way to get to the point where you can operate in flow while prospecting, while lead generation, while client acquisition, during prospecting, during lead generation, during client acquisition, is to practice non-attachment. And the way we practice non-attachment is prior to prospecting, while we're putting out lead generation content, while we're generating it, the content, while people are reaching out to us, during they reach out to us, after they reach out to us, after we reach out to them, during reaching out to them, prior to reaching out to them, we remain detached from it needing to be this way or that way, as in acquire client or not acquire client, move forward with the deal or not move forward with the deal, as being a prerequisite to building the business to success, to magnetizing $1 million. This is a nuance point, because the person in mind might say, well, I would like to have more clients, and that makes sense. Does it need to be this particular prospect? I trust you've noticed, and I've noticed this as well. If a prospect says no, then maybe soon after, maybe even right after, the next prospect I reach out to, or I get access to particular leads that are more aligned, because I don't settle. If we settle for less than, then we experience the force and stress and frustration that comes from settling for less than. So you get to this point by practicing non-attachment. So if you get rejected or they don't want to do the deal with you, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're going to fail. I have been rejected in business many times. I have put out a lot of videos where, let's say, I thought that those videos would result in way more views, but they didn't. And then I've put out videos where I had no idea, but that they got millions of views. This is on my other channel, the one I built to over 400,000 subscribers organically. So practicing non-attachment is helpful. Number two, during conversations with the prospect, prospecting session, client acquisition sessions, and even lead generation content, our goal is to bridge the gap with outcome-oriented language. So they may not connect yet, although they are matched, but they may not appear to connect yet because they might not see how the offer translates into the results that they want. And that's fine, totally fine. If we're practicing non-attachment and taking an unbiased observer position, and it doesn't mean sit there still with a blank stare. It means inwardly be unattached. You can be very enthusiastic, your style, whatever is your natural style. I tend to be more excited, but inwardly I'm calm. Inwardly I'm at peace. Although I may appear to be ecstatic, inwardly the calm is there. Inwardly I'm not attached to it needing to be this way or that way. Again, nuance point. I would love to acquire more clients or achieve my quota, but it doesn't have to be this client. Yet the clients show up. That is personal magnetism. And just as I have practiced this over the years, you could do the same as well. So when we're not attached to what I call illusions of I in the other channel, is essentially needing them to say this, wanting, needing, craving, waiting, forcing, etc. Any of that not magnetic thoughts or beliefs, not identified with that, clarity emerges. And the goal is the outcome, the benefit that they get as a result of utilizing your product, or acquiring you as a service provider or taking a recommendation from you. And if they don't see how that benefits them, that's fine. We can continue exploring. I may say things like, let's explore. That's one of my favorite ways. So they may say something like, I don't know how this is going to help me. I'll say, totally fine. We can explore. Would you like to do that? And they say yes. And then one of the things that I may move into next, number 3, is use stories to build the trust. So they might not see how your product and or service is beneficial for them, but when we articulate it in a way that refers to a story that is based on an experience, for example, that a client had with us that is relatable to the prospect that we're communicating with, then what happens is they start to see how they too can get that or similar benefit. And even, let's say, after I shared that story, I may say something like, how do you relate to this? From which they share, I relate to it, I don't relate to it, or I relate to it in this way. And then we continue the exploration. And as we continue the exploration, the gap is closed. And then they say, you know what? It turns out that we're going to move forward with this deal, or we would like to move forward with this. We want to work with you. Thank you for listening to us. Magnetism. Client acquisition in a magnetic way. And it's fun. It's joyous. No need to force, strong arm, manipulate, convince, put on a persona. All of that is placed aside and forever discarded, we could say. You be you, naturally you, and magnetize the clients accordingly. So, for example, when it comes to building trust, if someone had an experience, we could say undesirable or a bad experience with a coach, they may be skeptical. They may have been overpromised and underdelivered. Reasonably so, they can be skeptical. That is perfectly fine. So I'm not going to shame and condemn them for being skeptical because they were committed a particular experience, yet they did not have the experience that was promised. So that stated, this is where you come in and see that as an opportunity to build the trust. So they might even share what that was. And then you can bridge the gap by sharing a story or talking about your own personal experiences where you might have experienced something like that. You know, for example, back in the days, I used to be involved with a lot of masterminds. And some of these masterminds were very stress-based, force-based, and maybe they're helpful for other individuals, but they weren't helpful for me. I said to myself, you know what? When I do a mastermind one day, it's going to be fun, joyous, flow-based. There's not going to be any shaming, no condemning. There's going to be deep relatability. People will feel comfortable sharing what's on their heart. They will always feel accepted. The relationships will be cultivated accordingly in a harmonious way, and everyone will benefit greatly because that's the kind of mastermind I would like to be a part of. And when I was involved with masterminds like that, I found that not only did I grow, I had a lot of fun, I had wonderful relationships, and everyone was naturally flow-based and naturally thriving. And I relate that to the contributions of the mastermind. So there are times where people share this with me, for example, with my Flow-Based Prosperity Group Coaching Mastermind. They share with me their experiences with masterminds, which we could say were undesirable to them. They had unpleasant experiences. And then I say, you know, this is how we go about doing things. And again, I'm being honest. I'm not saying these things to convince them. I'm sharing what the experience is like in the mastermind that I put together. And if it's a match for them, they say, I would love to be a part of. That is what I was looking for, and they join. Next is low commitment invitations. So as mentioned, sometimes people may be afraid or disappointed based on personal experiences in the past of committing to these kinds of offers or commitment in general. No shame, no condemnation. I don't shame or condemn anyone if they're afraid of or they're taking or they feel like it's a big risk to commit. That's okay. We may chunk down the commitment. So let's say if I say, I'm offering a 6-month coaching package for $6,000, which is a coaching package that I have. I might say, how would you like to have one session with me at X amount of dollars? And if you feel that that session is helpful, then we can credit that session forward into a coaching package. So instead of investing then $6,000, it's $6,000 minus whatever that 1 hour was, and that 1 hour was taken out of the coaching package. So they are still buying the coaching package, yet they're trying it out first to see if it's a harmonious match. Or I might say, go through 1 or 5 of my programs or join my group coaching mastermind service. So you could see if this is the kind of relationship you're looking for as far as being a client and me being a coach or a consultant. If this is a harmonious match for you, then let's move forward. Because I personally do not want to work with you unless it is a harmonious match. And it is an honest statement, as I mentioned. And they feel that honesty. They know it's not a trick because, as mentioned, the way I teach is lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. There are many ways of going about making money. If you would like to have a harmonious, sustainable, long-term business that continuously grows and you like to have fun and flow, then I recommend the flow-based way. It is what I made a priority in 2017. Prior to that, I was operating my operations more force-based at times and then flow-based at times. And then I said, I'm going to make everything flow-based because flow is the way. Not only did everything grow and accelerated, but I had even more fun, joyousness, and it resulted in magnetizing clients rather than forcing or trying to convince prospects to become clients or leads to become clients. So that's why I teach it this way, and I've taught this to many entrepreneurs, and they've went on to do this as well. And they genuinely enjoy prospecting. They genuinely enjoy lead generation. They genuinely enjoy client acquisition because it is naturally relationship building. So one of the ways to take care of the prospect, the lead, who feels disappointed or is afraid without shame and condemnation to commit is to have smaller commitments where they take those commitments, they experience the benefits from those commitments, and then they naturally commit for the other packages. Next is address objections with them, not at them. I like this one because this is about relationship building, as you know. And we talked about this in the previous video. You have access to $1 million. Here's how to manifest it. If you haven't seen it, I'll recommend watching that video. I'll link in the description to it. You have access to right now relationships, assets. They are in the form of knowledge, expertise, wisdom, stories. That's what we call intangible assets. You may have physical assets, digital assets, and relationships, and you can have access to more relationships by joining groups, masterminds, meetups, events, etc., meeting entrepreneurs, for example, those in your space. And all of those are valuable that could be combined in creative ways to grow your business. So thus having access to the assets and relationships, you are right now standing on your own acres of diamonds. So with respect to addressing objections, understand that they may be afraid. That's okay. No shame, no condemnation. They might not want to commit to a higher degree. That's fine. We can build ongoing relationships with clients because remember, I narrowed it down here. Magnetize prospects and leads, magnetize clients from those qualified leads, client acquisition, and magnetize ongoing business from existing clients. A significant portion of the revenues that I've generated over the years from my IT business, consulting practice, and YouTube channel came as a result of ongoing business from existing clients. They take a step, they have a relationship with you, they benefit greatly, they're ready for the next step, the next step, the next step, and they continue to grow, they continue to thrive. Your business continues to grow, continues to thrive, flow-based way. So address objections with them, not at them. It's about relationships. As related in relation to the other video, that was about relationships. Who's going to combine the assets? Who's going to buy the products and services? Real people do. So this is about relationships. And we can continuously refine and develop our relationship skills. I've been developing it for many years, and there's no limit to how masterful we can be at magnetizing the relationships, and then the relationships that we're in, we can continue to cultivate those in a mutually beneficial way. Not us versus them, not what's in it for me, or them, what's in it for them, and forget about me. What's in it for we? What's in it for us together? So when someone has an objection, like fear of failure, for example, or they have experienced disappointment in the past, it's valid. No shame, no condemnation. There's nothing wrong with them. As I say in my other channel, you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. There is no problem with you. That is you existing as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. If I don't think that way, I just stop identifying with that I thought. And then what happens is the conversation flows and we're addressing the objections with them. Feel, felt, found is a great practical way. I know how you feel and genuinely relate. No faking, no pretending. Genuinely relate. I've been through a similar experience like that. As a matter of fact, I had a client who shared with me their story. We worked together, something like that. And what we found is, you see the energy there. The energy is a genuine interest. It's a pacing and leading. It's yes and. It's not no but. It's not, let's disregard what you're saying. Let's ignore what you're saying. Let's pretend like what you're saying is not real. Because then the person does not feel understood. And in order for them to understand this, it is helpful that they feel understood first. When they feel understood, they're more likely to listen to our recommendations. Number 6 is relate to their language and beliefs. So people communicate in their style. And I like to communicate in my style. So in my videos, I communicate in a particular way. And I find that people who reach out to me to work with me in some shape or form, also we communicate in a similar way. But they may also communicate in ways that are different, pertaining to different subjects, or they may communicate differently in different ways. They don't necessarily communicate everything that I do in the way that I communicate. So there is relatability, though. What I'm interested in is the relatability of the relationship. So part of that, to establish rapport, is I may use particular words that are more relatable to them. Instead of saying something like sales for one individual, I may say client acquisition. The other individual, instead of saying client acquisition, I may say sales because they prefer the word sales. One prefers the word client acquisition because they have particular associations to client acquisition. Another person relates to sales in a way that another person relates to client acquisition. So they may also, in their subconscious mind, have particular beliefs that get triggered if particular words, statements, sentences are used. As a masterful acquirer of clients, let's say, a masterful salesperson, a masterful leader, we develop the ability to communicate in a way that speaks to the heart without triggering these beliefs, and even without triggering them and speaking directly to the heart. And that's what client acquisition is, heart-to-heart conversation. What happens is identification to those beliefs are released, and the client is acquired, and the relationship moves forward, mutually beneficial. Number 7, done with you. So I mentioned in a previous video, we can offer done by you services, like home study programs, which is what I offer. Done with you, which can be access to home study, plus some hand-holding along the way, maybe some consulting, maybe some coaching. And then we can also offer done for you, as in we will put it in place into your business. I'll bring in a team. We'll put in the things that we're proposing here into your business. One is not better than the other. A prospect may be looking for done by you. A prospect may be looking for done with you. They may be looking for done for you. If you have all three, or if you can customize your offer to be geared to what they're looking for, then the client acquisition increases. So a practical way that we could do this is we can say, let's work together a lot more closely in a particular area. So let's say if you're a fitness coach and what you offer is fitness coaching, but one of the challenges that they communicate is they don't wake up at a particular time in the morning. You can, if you would like, set something up so that they can have some accountability, and you can include that as part of the package. As a matter of fact, one of the first coaching packages that I sold when I transitioned from my IT business in 2013 was actually an accountability package, because this individual already knew what to do. They already have systems in place for sales, for marketing, for operations, to finance, to leadership. And although those areas can be optimized, like they can be optimized in every business, what we found was they benefited greatly from accountability. So that's what I offered specifically. So rather than do just the coaching and optimizing, it was a mix of coaching and consulting, I also offered accountability. And we set up accountability emails, and that was very helpful for him. So these are ways that we can increase the conversion from prospect, from lead to client during client acquisition conversations. And notice that this is the magnetic way. So the magnetic way is not force, not stress, not frustration. It's actually the path of least resistance. And consider this, you'll get better at this by applying it. I can assure you. Over the years, this has gotten easier, more effortless, more flow-based, as it has for myself, as it has been with clients, and you could do the same as well. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.